Another huge setback to San Francisco's downtown economic recovery. Nordstrom today announced it's closing its 2 locations in the city. The San Francisco Standard has a new article out today exploring why these stores are closing, what the impact will be, coming on top of numerous other recent closures. Joining us live now is Annie Gauss, senior editor at the San Francisco Standard, who wrote about the closure today. Annie, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So which 2 Nordstroms in the city are closing?
Well, the 2 last Nordstrom in the city, and they're both located in San Francisco downtown. So this includes the Nordstrom rack shop that is at 5th and Market Streets, and perhaps even more importantly, this also includes the massive multi-floor Nordstroms located at Westfield Mall, which, you know, I think it's hard to overstate what a loss this is for that mall and for the shopping area in general.
That was sort of the flagship. It was kind of the upscale ultimate destination for many, many years. So what is the reason Nordstrom gave?
Yeah, well, we got an internal email from the company's chief stores officer who said that, you know, the shop had been dealing with the challenging conditions in the area that led to declining foot traffic. But we also reached out to Westfield Mall and its owner, and they had a much more pointed critique of, you know, the factors that led to the closure. They blamed deteriorating street conditions in the city, you know, lack of safety for employees and customers, and said that they had tried to work with the city to remediate some of those issues, but ultimately were unsuccessful.
I see. So Nordstrom a little more vague, just talking about challenging conditions, and Westfield a little more specific.
Yes.
All right. And your story, actually, because we got to put this in context, looks at other high-profile retail closures since 2020. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And when you look at that, can you walk us through what this means? Do we have that?
Yes. So, so we've counted by now about 20 closures in kind of the greater Union Square shopping district since 2020, and that includes some recent ones like the high-profile sudden closure of Whole Foods nearby, in the mid-market area, and so this is a very significant kind of headwind for what people want to see in terms of a downtown recovery. You know, there are many retail vacancies in that part of the city, many high-profile retailers that have opted to leave, some citing some of the same conditions that the Westfield Mall owner said. So, you know, this is just another blow to the area.
Let's talk about it. When stores close, what exactly does the city lose in terms of the financials?
Yeah, well, they lose a lot. You know, they lose mainly sales tax. They lose foot traffic. People have less of an incentive to come to the area and shop. And over time, you know, there are concerns that vacancies could lead to longer term hits to property values, which affects property taxes as well. So, you know, there's really a lot of ripple effects that come from this. But I think the main thing is people just have less of a reason to come to the area. I mean, that Nordstrom's was an iconic location known for its architectural details and spiral staircase that was very avant-garde when it opened, and it's kind of hard to imagine the area without it.
Outside of that immediate downtown area and the South Market area, are stores doing better? It's hard to say because we did spend some time today reaching out to some of the other retailers in Westfield Mall, and we haven't heard a ton back yet, but we have heard a lot of the same anecdotes from people who run businesses in that area, and they cite declining foot traffic. Of course, COVID is a factor here too. There are far fewer people just spending time down there on a daily basis as well, but many of them cite just the challenges on the street, people feeling nervous, and anxious about spending time in that area as well. So it's all just kind of adds to, a toxic mix and a difficult environment for businesses. Right. And it's not just Nordstrom overall, right? Because sometimes a chain will, I don't want to say use an excuse, but say it's this, but actually there are other business factors. But Nordstrom overall, how are they doing in California and overall?
Well, they actually are expanding in other parts of California. So, this is not, obviously malls and department stores have had a lot of other challenges, apart from street conditions. A lot of malls across the country have not been doing particularly well. There's been competition from e-commerce and things like that. But Nordstrom is opening new stores in other parts of California. They're opening a new location in San Mateo, for example. So, it's not that this is a company overall on the brink necessarily in the state, but certainly they feel like their time in San Francisco has come to a close.
What is the reaction from the city? Have you talked to anyone?
Yeah, we did reach out to the mayor's office, and they pointed to some of the mayor's efforts to improve the area. They pointed to some public safety initiatives, pointing out that they had 2 dedicated SFPD officers stationed at the mall, for example, among other efforts, community ambassadors, things like that. But the mayor's office also did push back a bit on the idea that they had not been working proactively with Westfield Mall. They said that there had been some planning around some redevelopment efforts at Westfield. A few years back, they added some office space, for example, but it sounded like those efforts just sort of died. And so they did push back a bit on the idea that, the city had not tried to help.
So I guess when you lose such a big tenant like that, who will come in? I mean, are there any prospects for filling both that Westfield space that Nordstrom occupied and some of the other spaces that are now empty?
Yeah, well, there's still Bloomingdale's there, so there is another department store in that mall. But I think the consensus among a lot of real estate experts is that this will be could be a particularly difficult space to fill. It's this very unique space. As we noted, this is multiple floors. It's a very large space, over 300,000 square feet. So it's certainly not going to be easy to find a new tenant there. There are some longer term questions about the viability of Westfield Mall and a lot of the other retailers in the area as well. But I think it's safe to say that it's a challenge to get a lot of those spaces filled.
All right, Annie Gao, senior editor at the San Francisco Standard, thank you so much for coming on to share your latest report.
You're welcome.
And you can check out Annie's story or more of the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting. It's all on their website, sfstandard.com. And ABC7 will continue to bring you more segments featuring the Standard's city-focused journalism. Look for that twice a week right here on Getting Answers at 3 p.m.